In this tutorial, you will be building the troll tool. You gotta pay the troll toll to get that boy's soul. And this is how we're gonna learn components. You're gonna learn the basics of components, and by the end of this tutorial, you will understand how to make reusable components and how events work between components. We're not gonna go completely in depth into components, but you will have enough understanding of it in order for you to get started and to build your own components with remarkable functionality. So stay tuned while I earn gold to pay the troll toll. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the most important tutorial. I cannot stress this enough. Components are the backbone of Blazor. Components are the backbone of basically any modern framework front-end language like React, Angular, Vue.js, and Blazor. If you do not understand how components work, you're gonna have a bad time learning Blazor. If you skipped all the tutorials up to this point, that's fine, but this is the one you cannot skip. I cannot stress that enough. Now, for those of you who are a bit impatient and want to get to the project directly, here's a timestamp for you on screen where you can go and get to the project right away. For all of you who are staying here for the explanation of what a component is, thank you. And also, I appreciate all of my subs. I have reached 100 subs. Thank you. That is fantastic. Let's get to the explanation. So, what is a component? A component is basically HTML and code running together. So, here's an example of what a component looks like in Blazor. You're going to get real familiar with this, you know, the more you program Blazor, so don't worry. I just have it up here for you. And components can be modified. You can have data pass through them. You can have events pass through them, and all sorts of stuff that you need in order to produce an application that is robust and all that good stuff. But the most important thing in the components are reusable. They can be used over and over again if you program it that way, and they're pretty flexible little things you're gonna use in your program a lot. So I can't stress the reusability portion of the component enough. It is basically the reason why you want to use components. It's also far better to use components most of the time than it is to use actual Razor pages when using Blazor. The reason for that is because you need to communicate between components, and components really communicate the best with other components. So that's why you're probably gonna see components like when we build a page, actually a component. .razor, that is a component, and then we're going to have components within it that will communicate with the page and vice versa. So that's going to be the focus of our project, building some reusable components so that you can have and show on page. But this project is going to be a little special. I decided to make it a little spicy for you guys. So this is the project from the rest of the tutorial. You do not need to go back and do any of it. We're going to start fresh again. So you might see some stuff that you haven't seen before, but that's okay. We're not going to use any of that. So the first thing I want you to do is go to your www root folder. Yes, right here. And I want you to create a folder. Now you can call it whatever you want, but I'm gonna call it media. www root is where you put all your static files and stuff in an ASP.NET project in general. So this is where we're gonna put our pictures. Yes, we'll have some pictures in here. So pick whatever pictures you want. It makes no difference. I already picked out my pictures, and I'm just gonna put them in there right now. Let's just do that, Root. Perfect. I'm just doing this to get that out of the way real quick. So as you can see, our pictures are there. We're going to be using them in the project. It's important for me that I use them. So we got our boy soul. We got a goal. We got a troll. We're going to build this troll tool. Make you pay. You know what I mean? So now we're going to go to the index.razor. No, we're not. Just kidding. We're going to go to the nav menu, actually. Yes, that is not a joke. So in this nav menu, we're going to add another tab for this tutorial. You're only going to need one. So in this case, we're just going to call it troll tool. And we're going to send the href be the same thing. Troll tool page. So obviously this page doesn't exist. If we ran it now, you would just see the tab and it'll go nowhere. So we're going to be building that page here. Go here. Add a Razor component. Yes, as I said before, this is a component, but we treat it as a page. The only difference between a component and a page, also call it troll tool. The difference between a component and a page is that a component does not have the URL we're going to add to this page. I will, you know what I mean. Put add page, and now we need to add that what we wrote for that tab. the same. I just do this to make sure. So here, so now that that tab here will hit this component, and we'll just assume that works. And if it doesn't work, you know, it's a pretty easy change. So what are we gonna do with Mr. TrollToll? Normally I would keep them the same name, but this is where the action is gonna happen. So where you saw in that example before, that is where we're gonna put basically all of our components, but we're not done yet. We need to create another folder here for organization and call this the TrollToll components. Because we're gonna add the one component here, but I want to just organize this project a little bit better. And we're gonna call this the button and image component basically. And you'll see what I mean. So what we've done right now is that we've created the page that is a component too, and we've created something that we're gonna actually be using as a component. So you're gonna be seeing this get placed into this page, and we'll be using that in order to create our TrollToll. So the TrollToll will have a button, as you saw. We'll have a button and an image, and there will be two pieces of logic between the two, but you'll be using the exact same component for both. Now, how do you do that? Well, that's what components are for. Components are meant to be reusable. So we will first begin with our component. Go here. So I'm gonna eliminate that. We don't need to add any we don't really need to add any page stuff here. Remember, you add the page URLs only when they're using them as a page. So we'll begin by adding a div. And this div will have an h3 on top of it as well, and another div. This is so that we can keep track of what exactly we're doing and who the component is. So it's, you know, we're just gonna have that up there for that purpose. But these divs that we're adding now at a breakpoint here, because we're gonna make another div, is just to organize the image and the button to have the image on top of the button. So for the image, it's just an image object. And we will make the width of this image object 300. And the height 250. I just wanted to be more uniformed. You saw in the tutorial a little earlier when I was explaining this that they're kind of big. These images that I got are pretty big, so I just had to do it like this. Oh, not yet, not yet. For the next one, we're gonna add the button. Here it's an input. Input of type button, class primary, blah blah blah, button primary, and we're not gonna add code just yet. We're gonna add it down here before we add it here, obviously. So what do we need for this code? So we want two things basically. We want the image name, so we want to reference these images so they can show up here, and we want a title. So whatever title we give this component, we're going to be passing in as well, and then whatever label we're going to give this input here. So this will not have, so when it comes out, it's going to be empty basically. So buttons will look like won't have any words in it, but we will name the buttons depending on which side we're using. If you're the TrollToll side or if you're the mining side, that's how you make money to pay the TrollToll after all. So in order to do that, we need to add a few variables to deal with it. So the first one's going to be title. So this gets a little finicky when it comes to nulls, so I just like adding a default title in here. So also that would tell me whether or not I'm actually passing the values through correctly. Then we're going to have an image name as well. This is what we'll be passing into there. Maybe the same thing basically. And then the last string is going to be the button label. All of it default. So in this case, we're gonna need some functions to actually do the whole, grab the image thing from a title, because you can't just, call it that and bring it in. You have to actually put in the you have to put in the whatever the path is for the media folder in my case. So in order to do that, we're gonna make a function. Public string go image. And then this is what you should write. You're going to return a string, put the $, name of your file, slash the name of whatever you called your image name, and then you put .jpeg. In my case, these are all JPEGs. You would also be better served if you had the same formatted pictures. So keep that in mind. If not, this is not going to work. And you'll have to do a little extra code, or just make it easier on yourself and just get 3 JPEGs or 3 PNGs or whatever. Anyways, we're going to do the exact same thing for a button. And our title will not need a function. We're just going to pass the title directly into the object. In this case, we're massaging the data a little bit. Perfect. So now we have everything we need here, but we still need to add this title. We still have to add the functions where we need to add them to. Let's do that. Title. In order to assign the source, we have to put it into the source attribute, and we're just gonna stick this in there. At show image, and the same thing, the value of the input. This will be the name, basically. Call it button label. So now we are almost done with this component. Now the way components work is that they have parameters that can be assigned to them once you create the component on screen. You're gonna see this now. But in order for those parameters to be shown to the component, or to shown to you when you use the component, you actually have to assign parameter properties here by adding this annotation. So we need all 3 of them, since we're expecting 3 different values for each of these from the parent component to pass into it. This is how we make it generic. So right now, all this is going to be an image and a button with a different title. Let's go back to the TrollToll page and see what we can do with that. So, oh yes, I forgot. So you see this right here? I don't know if you could actually read it, but if I were to try to write this component here, I had to come back up. Yeah, it's gonna ask me to import the wherever the component exists right now, which is in the pages of the TrollToll components. We don't have this component available to us, so you're gonna have to either import it like this at using then you gotta write the name of the project, where it is, pages dot TrollToll components, and then you can use it normally. If not, you're gonna have to have this with it, or you could assign this globally since we want to keep using this component in other places in our code apart from here, we don't have to use this. Instead, go to your imports.razor here. This is where you have all your global components. What we're going to do is take this, cut that out from there, and put it down here. So this is how we share components across the app, basically. So you will have access to this as if you were putting the import up here. So you will see that now. See? So now you don't have to write all that. And this is the first component we're adding. This is the only component we're going to do here, but we're going to make it do two different things. So in order to demonstrate something, I'm going to get rid of this title right here. Get rid of the parameter. I'll just show you what happens. So I can see what I could add here. I can see the button label and the image name, but I can't see the title. Here. So that's not gonna work. If I try to do the button label, you'll see how it's actually supposed to look like. Come on. So this is meant to be something else, which I'll get into later. But this is what you want when you're passing in parameters. It has to look like this in the IDE. So that's why, even though I was able to get title from here, this is what you want. It has to be bold and green. So once I put back title with the parameter, it will change. That's just me showing. So now I have access to the actual title parameter here. So for TrollToll, we're gonna pretty this up a little bit, but for now we're just gonna add the one component and show you exactly what we've done so far. So we're just gonna call it test, button label, we'll call it label, and for the image, we're just gonna get one of mine. I'm just gonna use the troll, good old Danny. So in theory, if this works, I should see Danny with the button called label. Oh no, what have I done? And the problem is button label. Oh no, that's the problem. We all make mistakes. Let's load this puppy up. See that? See? Roll to boom. There it is. It's called test. Like we passed it in. We passed in the name of the image and converted that into the image because we threw it into the source. And our button label is called label. So obviously this doesn't do anything. But our TrollToll is being built. We're almost there. We need to give the functionality to actually decide whether or not you have paid the TrollToll and the ability to pay the TrollToll by mining. So how do we do that? Well, now we're gonna add some. We're gonna be adding some things onto not here. Not yet actually. We'll be doing some changes there too. But we're gonna be adding the bulk of our code here in the TrollToll page. So I believe that we need to add a few different things here. So for the TrollToll, you need a price to pay. So I'm not gonna set the price. We're gonna let higher powers decide that. So we're gonna let the system.net thing handle it. It's gonna do the random. We're gonna give it a random number. Then we're gonna have a number to determine how much gold we have, and we're also gonna see whether or not we have enough to pay the TrollToll, and whether or not the TrollToll has been paid, so we can get that boy's soul, which is what we want in all this, right? Right. So how do we begin? First, we need to put in some variables in here. And the first variable is going to be the TrollToll price. Now, we're going to set this price a little bit later on, but for now, we're just going to add all the variables we're going to need for this particular project. We're going to need the gold, so we're going to mine it. You saw the mine picture hopefully earlier. And we're gonna need to understand whether or not the troll toll has been paid. And finally, I'm just gonna put in a little message here, so that when you can't pay the troll toll, it will tell you can't pay the troll toll. So now let's discuss a little bit of the life cycles of components. So components have a lot of life cycles in them, but in this case, considering this is a basic Blazor course, we're gonna go over probably the most used ones, which is OnInitialized and its async counterpart. Its async counterpart, OnInitializedAsync. So this is when you're trying to basically, you would use this if you're trying to get data from like a database. You're trying to wait for the database to give you the data. In this case, we have no such thing, so we're just going to use the normal one, and we're just gonna write some code. Make sure you write protected override OnInitialized. So I wrote this wrong. On initial, that's not how you. Well, I'm gonna copy paste it. There we go. So OnInitialize with a capital I right here. Remember that you could accidentally write another function called OnInitialize if you don't have the right spelling. This has happened to me a lot. But first, so what happens when we have OnInitialize? I forgot to explain the actual point. So OnInitialize happens before the render. So before this component gets loaded, you can do a bunch of stuff here, which is how you grab the data before and then place that into the component itself. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to get the troll toll price before all this gets rendered so that the number gets set to the troll toll price. You will see this now. I'm going to add more HTML stuff up here, but first we're just going to do some of this code thing here. So you're going to see me bounce back and forth. The first thing is we're going to do the random. We're going to make a random object in order to create a random number whenever this gets initialized, whenever the component gets rendered. So troll toll price is equal to rand.next. And then in order to make this easy to demonstrate afterwards, we're just going to set the price between 10 and 20. That's what this does. This sets the price between the minimum and the maximum, so we're just going to use 10 and 20. That'll be easy for us, considering we're just going to click our way to the top. Toll has been paid. Troll toll paid equals to false. Obviously, not paying the troll toll yet, and the message will be nothing so far. This will change as we go later and later. So what we want to do now is make this a little bit pretty. So this is going to be some HTML in order to do this. So just follow along. We're going to wrap this all in a div. This div is going to have a class in there. This class is going to be called container. So everything that we're doing is going to be within this container, basically, at least the main things that we're doing. So in this container, we're going to have another div, and that div will have a class equals row. You let me know if you guys want me to just copy paste this here, and then you can pause the video and stop and and copy it yourself, or you want me to go along with it and explain the process that I go through as I do this. So this is another div. I'm be seeing quite a few divs. I use divs all the time. Class is equal to row. We want them to be side by side, at least these two. Okay, touch this. Div. Another div within the row. Class is equal to what it's called, the 6. Yeah, I could copy paste this because I'm looking at it as I do this. A little behind the scenes action. And I believe another div, but we're gonna copy this one. Reason why you want it to be col MD6 because 12 is the max number you could have a page basically. So within this, we're gonna have two of these. So this top one's gonna be the troll tool one. Don't worry, we'll add all the price and stuff later. But for now, we're gonna add the one on the left is gonna be the left one. It's gonna be the troll tool. So this is gonna be called troll tool, obviously. The button label is gonna be called pay the toll. Because when we click this button, we wanna see if we have enough gold. Pay the troll tool to get into that blah blah blah. You get it. And the image name is gonna be troll, so this remains the same. But the other one, I'm gonna actually change a little bit. Earn gold. It's gonna be our title for that one. The button label is gonna be called gold. I guess gold budget, you know. And then the image is also gonna be called. Oh no, I meant mine for gold. And now that we have this, we want to see the troll tool price. So we're gonna put this over here in a paragraph. We're just gonna call it troll tool price at that. So you will see what I mean. When I run this, we will see that the troll tool price is gonna be whatever, some number between 10 and 20 before this all gets set up, and then you know, you will actually see the number. Along with seeing different changes on our components, we're gonna see both the troll tool and the mine gold portions of them. Ooh. Oh, I did what I said I was out to do. That is to give you the troll tool and mine gold. Now, I don't know why this came out like this, but I'm gonna fix it real quick. Be this container class thing is. Row. Oh, that's why there are 2 rows here. Supposed to have 2 rows. Oh, still because it's the same. Well, anyways, I'm not gonna spend too much time doing this. That's probably maybe up. Div 2. Well, either way, we do need to add another paragraph to it. Paragraph here. This is going to be the gold mine. We want to know how much gold we got. Obviously, you're going to start off with none. Here you start off with nothing. Boom, no gold for you. So yeah, there's a reason why you don't actually put them directly into the component, because I don't believe there's a guarantee that if you don't put it in OnInitialized, it will actually do what you want it to do. That's why you have these live functions for the component to use. So anyway, we need to write a few functions because we need to tie that button that we have in this component to something, right? We need to tie it to a function to actually increment the gold. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Protected void increment. So I'm not going to bother changing the, I don't know why that didn't work too well. If somebody out there who's a UI expert can explain to me what happened and why same thing that I did before worked and why this didn't work now, when it counts, you let me know. And then we're going to build another function to actually pay the troll toll. Did pay the troll toll. Passing anything. There's a reason for that, but I will get to it in a second. So in order to do that, we want to measure the gold mine is less than the troll toll price. Then all we're gonna do is set a message, set the message that we have here to need a total. And we will have that message right under the troll. Oh wait, I think I might know. Might actually be this. Supposed to put that in there. And in here, we put our message. Same with this. Put that here, put that here. This is probably why. Hope so. But if you do have enough, you put the troll toll paid equals true. And you set our message to thanks. He's a nice troll. We'll do business with you. And what happens when you pay the troll toll? Well, we need to get into that boy's soul. I'm not saying what you think I'm saying. I'm saying boy's soul. So we're gonna add the boy's soul here as well. Now, I've added all of those functions in there, but they're not gonna work right away. The reason for that is because the functions are out here in the parent, but all of the actual, button clicking and stuff is done within the component. Something that you're gonna encounter a lot, where if you made reusable components before, that you need to make them activate events, but they are not part of their own code. This is meant to be used across the whole application. Is meant to be generic. So we're just gonna do what we did before, essentially. But this time I'm gonna be lazy and hard code it and copy paste like that. So image width 300, 250, whatever the JPEG you want to put down here is, that is my JPEG. And we're gonna wrap all this in an if statement. And obviously the if statement is gonna be with the troll tool. I don't know if this does anything, but I have it written there, so let's check her out. It's always good to run this whenever you write a lot of code, so you make sure that you don't break it. So hey, there was. So it was the paragraph. So can I mine for gold? No, I cannot. Can I pay the toll? I can't do it either. And that's a price. So we know that that's working. That the initialize is actually setting up the values here. So what do we need to do in order to make all this work? Well, in order to make events and stuff work, you have to pass these events between the parent and the child and vice versa. How do you do this? Well, in order to do this, you have to go to this place here, to the component. The component needs to be able to listen and send events back to the parent. So I'm going to show you a way of doing that right now. So we're going to learn something new today. Now, this is something really important. So we're going to learn an event callback. It's going to look like this. We need to send events like parameters. So this is how you actually send events down to the back up and down to the components depending. And in this case, the event callback will contain an event. You can actually have other types in here. You can have booleans, ints, whatever you're passing through. But in this case, what we care about is the mouse event because we care about the click. So that's what we're gonna call it on generic click. So whenever a button gets clicked here, you want to trigger something. That is essentially what we're going to do here. But the code of triggering it is not going to be within here itself. What will be in here is this generic click event, and we're going to have something like this: public async ask generic click. So this is essentially going to be a function that we're going to tie to the event click that we're going to send back up to the parent, because what you really want to do is invoke these functions here: the DidYouPayTrollToll and the IncrementGold. Now we could of course put all the buttons here on this component and make it easy peasy for us, but that's not the point of this tutorial. The point is to make you understand the relationship between components and how they affect each other. In this case, we have a child component trying to activate a parent's functions. Now normally they can't do that unless you have something like the event callback here. So this is how you would actually write it. You put a wait, whatever the name of your callback's gonna be. Oh, I'll just write it by hand. Why not? On generic click dot invoke async, and I forgot to pass in with the type. So you gotta pass in whatever type it is here. In this case, it is gonna be this event args, and then we pass those args up here. But we are not done just yet. This will not work, because right now your clicks are not being, you're not triggering anything. You're not triggering this just yet. What you need to do in order to make something like this work is data bind the onClick input to that function we just created. Generic click args. So you see this? So what's happening here is that when this button gets clicked, it will trigger a generic click function. That generic click function will be tied to something in this button and image component. And this is how you can create the same component but have it do different things. So because this parent has the logic we want, we're gonna tie that logic to that generic function on click, or on generic click. So you'll do the same thing as you did on generic click. You see, we're passing it as a parameter. That's why we have it written down there. And this is the troll. The troll one, I believe, is DidYouPayTrollToll. So when this button gets clicked, the event gets called, and when the event gets called, it will call upon this function here. So think of it that way. Click, you go down to generic on click, and whatever I just assigned to it is what's gonna get done. So we're gonna do the exact same thing to the other one, except we're gonna do the IncrementGold one. So now the same component has two different functions, and it's calling two different functions from the parent itself. So this component does not have any real code in it except for, you know, getting the image and setting up some variables and stuff. But because we're able to pass in this event, we can call whatever we want back on the parent, allowing this component to remain generic enough to be used in other places, and allowing it to be flexible enough to do what we wanted to do here, which is to pay the troll toll. So let's try paying the troll toll and see what happens with our 0 gold. Danny's not letting us. So we gotta start mining till we get 13. Okay, maybe he'll let us slide with 12. Nope. All right, 13. Yes, there he is. There's the boy's soul. We got it. Congratulations, everyone. Here he is. The boy's soul that I promised you. So that is all there is to components. Actually, I'm gonna undo this. So components are the backbones of Blazor, as I said. Components are necessary because they are flexible enough to pass in and out code, especially event handling code and data between each other. And you need to do this in order to work with the framework. Sure, everything else that we've learned so far goes into using components, and there's a lot more to them. They have a life cycle that's far more than what I've shown you. I just believe the OnInitialized and OnInitialized async are the most important ones you should learn, because that's what you're mostly going to use them for. If you have a component, you'll probably want to put data in it, so you'll get data from a database, and you need the async one to do that. I also taught you how to pass events between components. So let's go back real quick. To pass events between components using the event handlers. And this is basically a trick in how to make a button that's not part of the parent trigger an event in the parent by sending in the actual clicking to it. So this is how you can get away with having buttons that can trigger things in the parent or what have you. But there's far more to components than this. You could actually have nested components where you could have one component within another. I would assume this is technically a nested component as a parent and a child, but in that case, we want basically a parent, a child, and a grandchild within the parent or within the child. So that's a nested component, but that requires understanding more things like rendering fragments and all that stuff. But that is not part of this basic tutorial. I believe this is enough to get you to work with components in a flexible enough way that you'll basically have the building blocks of what you need. If you want to make something even more complex, then obviously that's going to be something for a different time, for a different video, for a more advanced video. But for now, I believe this will allow you to, basically get away with understanding what components do and how they work. And I believe my explanation of the events is probably going to be the most simplest explanation of events you're going to find on the internet. I've tried, trust me, this was annoying, but it should be good, right? Did you like this tutorial? Did you like how I exploited Danny and Dennis? I didn't keep mining for gold. If you did, like and subscribe and comment. Tell me if you want more of these videos. Do you like projects like this, like weird esoteric ones that bring me joy, or do you want me to do really technical ones like we've done before? I'm kind of aloof here, so I probably will have a lot of personality when it comes to tech stuff, but hey, you know what I mean? Anyways, thanks for the 100 subs. Love you. See you next time.